Okay, council colleagues, it's very loud. Okay, welcome. We're here on October 14th and council chambers convening at 6:37 p.m. And I would invite a council colleague to read our land acknowledgement. Anyone? Deputy Mayor, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The municipality of North Grenville acknowledges that the municipality operates on the territory of the Anishinaabe. We recognize all First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples who now call North Grenville their home. We respect and support the need for cultivating a strong relationship, and we commit to Indigenous informed decision-making to foster the path towards reconciliation.
Thank you. So before we commence with the formalities, obviously I trust everyone had a pleasant and restful Thanksgiving weekend. I know it was a very busy community this weekend, so would like to recognize that on Saturday the community came out in force for the first, what I believe will be annual Run for Rowan, obviously in memory of Rowan Dean. It was wonderfully inspiring to see so many honor Rowan and support his family in the continuation of a scholarship fund that's been established. And it was a beautiful day for a run walk at the Ferguson Forest Centre. We also, this weekend, saw a lovely event come together at the Municipal Centre, and that was the first Diwali celebration, sort of public community celebration of the holiday Diwali. Councillor Strachan and I had the opportunity to partake in a very spirited community gathering with lights and music and performances and really delicious food. I'll note that Diwali is a 5-day festival of lights, and it starts this coming Friday. So I know through our EDI committee, some additional conversation will be taking place about how we can continue to increase our efforts to mark some other significant cultural traditions and holidays. That it was wonderful to be able to connect with Diwali. And looking ahead, we know that this Thursday we have the Community Resource Fair and Family Fun Day from 2 to 6 at the Municipal Centre, capped by a free public skate in the evening. On Sunday, October 19th, we have the first ever Kemptville Legion Artisan Market from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m., and that is on Legion property. And mark your calendars, council colleagues and members of the community. The first public information session for the official plan review is happening on Wednesday, October 22nd from 6 to 8:30 at the Municipal Centre. I don't know if I've missed anything. I know there was an excellent farmers market on Sunday as per usual. Is there any other events, council colleagues, that you'd like to highlight before we move to adopt the agenda? Not seeing any. All right. So then we'll move on to the adoption of the agenda. And that is that the regular council meeting on October 14th be approved as presented. We are looking to amend the agenda, and that is to move K2 and K4 up so that they follow their respective delegations. Thank you, Ms. Jeannot, for bringing that to my attention. And I should say before I ask for a mover and a seconder for the agenda that I will note that the municipality of North Grenville got a lot of attention and engagement last week on its family physician recruitment program. You may have noted that the City of Ottawa is now looking to engage in a more systematic physician recruitment effort. We were able to highlight as a municipality the success of the program that we've had here. Of course, it's not perfect. I know that council will likely want to take a close look at that program again, but I did want to certainly commend municipal staff and council as a whole for forging ahead with a recruitment program that I think has met with some success. And I know the city of Ottawa, it's always nice when the big city is looking to a smaller town for some learnings about how to stabilize and improve access to primary health care. And we recognize that there is a KDH, Kentville District Hospital-led proposal in the works to further expand access to primary care in our community, and lots of different stakeholders, including the municipality, among others, including the family health clinics, are in deep conversation with the Kentville District Hospital about how to do that with the assistance of some nurse practitioners, among others. So once again, I think North Grenville is standing out for its innovation, its boldness, and its capacity to get things done. And I know on the agenda this evening, we have some exciting items that only highlight that further. So with that, I'll ask for a mover and a seconder for the adoption of the agenda. Councillor Sullivan, thank you. Councillor Strachan, thank you. Any comments or questions on the agenda? Not seeing any. I'll call the vote. All in favor? Great. Thank you. That carries. Declarations of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof. Colleagues, any perceived or real financial benefit or loss arising from any item on the agenda this evening? Not seeing anything. We'll move on. We have no public meetings as part of tonight's meeting, but we do have 2 deputations. And I'm here to welcome members of the Indigenous Advisory Circle. Welcome, Ms. Rexmans and Ms. Tucker. You're coming, and Mr. Seymour, you're all coming together, or is it just Lorraine? Just the 2? All right, welcome. All right. You will have to approach the deputation table, and I think we might need another chair. Is there 1 or 2 chairs at the... Okay, great. Okay, you can go one after the other, or do you want to do it together? Okay. Sure. Okay, just if you don't mind turning on the mic. Just if you... There's one button, you'll see it turn on. Great, thank you. It's just for a live stream. We know that we can hear you. It's just live streaming.
Technically, there are 2 buttons there, but I guess the correct one. All right. I did 14 font, but still. Okay. Thank you, Mayor, members of the council and staff. I'm going to speak for about 4 or 5 minutes, and then I'm going to pass it over to Lorraine for some additional comments. So as non-Indigenous people living on this land, a big part of our responsibility is to become better and better at stewarding the land along with the original people here who have been doing so already for thousands of years. We have the ability to do this drawing upon both Indigenous scientific knowledge and modern research methods. That's to our advantage. It is in this capacity that I speak to you as a settler in Algonquin land, a medical doctor, and a member of the Indigenous Advisory Circle. According to the website of the Government of Canada, glyphosate is the most widely used herbicide in the country and is used both in agricultural and non-agricultural land management. Health Canada controls the use of pesticides via the Pest Management Regulatory Agency, otherwise known as the PMRA. Pesticides are reportedly subject to, as they say on their website, rigorous science-based assessments by Health Canada before being approved for use and for sale. Scientists establish what they call maximum residue limits, or MRLs, which is the legal maximum allowable amount of pesticide residues that may remain in or on foods. Then Health Canada monitors for compliance with these MRLs, including on imported foods. And according to the website, Canada MRLs are set well below levels that could pose a health concern. So pesticides are reevaluated every 15 years for continued safety. In 2017, glyphosate was deemed non-harmful to humans with a compliance rate with Canadian MRLs of 99.4%. So looks good on paper. In 2022, Health Canada reapproved the registration of a glyphosate-containing product that was called Mad Dog Plus claiming there was no new evidence for it to be reassessed at that time. However, during that process, there were 4 environmental organizations that included the David Suzuki Foundation as well as Environmental Defense that presented 61 new scientific studies finding new or increased risks associated with glyphosate. And in February 2025, a federal court judge ordered Health Canada to reassess that 2022 decision, stating the original approval was unreasonable, given they didn't take into account any of that new research. Even then, the PMRA decided not to take any further actions regarding the registration of glyphosate. And even though they were aware of even more and convincing new scientific evidence that came out in Medical Journal in June of 2025, and this was from the Ramazzini Institute, showing that glyphosate is linked to cancer in experimental animals at levels of exposure that actually comply with European Union regulations. So getting a little closer to home, here in Ontario, there have been growing calls from communities, including by the Serpent River First Nation, to ban the use of glyphosate in Ontario's forest industry. In forestry, the chemicals used to kill weeds and broadleaf vegetation. It is sprayed in the late summer. The industry sprays thousands of hectares of crown forestry land across the northern part of the province in order to encourage the growth of their monoculture trees. We know that the chemical accumulates in forest plants that are subject to these sprayings. This greatly affects those who rely on foods and medicines grown in the forest, such as blueberries, sage, sweetgrass, and cedar, for example. The effects are far more reaching than that and are also summarized in the motion. Quebec, in fact, banned the use of glyphosate-containing herbicides on crown land forests all the way back in 2001, and now there are demands to do the same thing here. Following in the footsteps of towns such as Moonbeam, members of the Indigenous Advisory Circle are now calling on North Grenville's leadership to add their voices to the fight against this dangerous chemical. This move will put much needed pressure on the provincial government and will add to the momentum that's already forming on this issue. The resolution will also demonstrate the municipality's ongoing attention to matters of concern to Indigenous people and communities, not just locally, but also throughout the province. Thank you.
Ani. So this issue of the glyphosate ban, I've actually been working on this since the year 2000. As an Indigenous person, oftentimes our only chance to talk about land use issues is in the forest management planning context. So we did call on the Ministry of Natural Resources in the year 2000 to ban the spraying of this herbicide. And as Sarah said, it's basically wipes out competing plant species when an area has been clear-cut and replanted. So that's the forest management planning regime in Ontario. Sarah talked a little bit about Indigenous knowledge and science, and this is what's known now as two-eyed seeing. So this is bringing Indigenous knowledge together with Western science practices to try to find best ways forward. So the motion that we're presenting for Council's consideration is something that is coming from a huge effort across the province of Ontario that goes back 25 years. Groups like Stop the Spray, the traditional ecological elders, traditional ecological knowledge elders, the Wakatoan group in Northern Ontario. They issued a press release at the last Indigenous Land Symposium in Sault Ste. Marie last February, calling for a ban. So this is starting to gain some momentum now that municipal councils are acting as allies and passing motions in support of the ban. Indigenous Action, so I'm part of a group called Indigenous Action, and one of our members is here tonight, Marie. And we wrote a letter to the Premier last August calling for a ban. And our letter basically said, this is genocidal practice. If you are spraying a probable carcinogen on the water and the food sources of Indigenous people, you're putting their lives and their health at risk. And this, under the law, under international law, could be considered genocidal practice. And that is strong language. But there's no other way to say this. There really isn't. If you know people are at risk, at health risks, and you continue a practice that puts them at risk, how do you convince the government to stop? Is the question. So we need all the support that we can get as Indigenous people. Look to municipalities as allies in this era of reconciliation to move this agenda forward. So I wanted to share that with you. There's only two things that I would like to suggest in terms of amendments to the motion that is presented. And I would include a whereas clause that says, whereas all levels of government have a responsibility to uphold Indigenous rights which are affirmed by treaty and the Canadian Constitution. So standing with Indigenous people in an effort to ban the spraying of chemicals over them and their lands is honoring the treaty. It's an agreement to live in peaceful coexistence. So spraying without their permission, without their free, prior, and informed consent is a violation of Indigenous rights and a violation of the spirit and intent of the treaty. Did you want me to read it again? Okay. So, and then I would just change the first, therefore be it resolved. Therefore be it resolved, number 1, that the municipality of North Grenville supports the Chiefs of Ontario call for a ban on aerial spraying of glyphosate and urges the federal and provincial governments to take immediate action, etc. So this would be, there are people who are excited that municipalities are passing these motions. And they're actually on standby waiting for this motion at Chiefs of Ontario. So I think it's important to demonstrate that allyship with that organization that is also taking a lead on this. And I'll leave it there, so thank you.
Thank you so much. Council colleagues, any questions at this time? Ms. Reckman, maybe before you go, I just wanted to ask, because I know at the county council table about 4 years ago, we had this discussion, and we were not successful at a county council level of, I think, an attempted ban or modification of use of glyphosate, except, Ms. Dunlop, if I'm not mistaken, municipalities can exercise some discretion on where it is used, because I think it is used widely by municipalities as well. Can you clarify for me, Ms. Dunlop, what the current practice is?
Thank you for the question, Your Worship. I do not believe the municipality in any way, shape, or form uses any glyphosate spraying. The United Counties of Leeds and Grenville does use a, I don't know the technical name of the spraying that they use along the roadside. It is not glyphosate-based. It is a different chemical-based, and we can come back to you with that information if you wish.
So that is the distinction I'm looking for, right? So glyphosate. Maybe you can, because I know you have deep knowledge in this area, what is the most sort of common label for a glyphosate product?
Well, I think it was called
Roundup?
Vision 2000, also known as Roundup. But I think there are two things here. One is the aerial spraying over large, areas of the province, which means it's into waterways and we're all connected and all that other stuff. And I know there was a ban, so there was a provincial ban on the spraying of herbicides for cosmetic purposes in municipal areas. But that was just a ban on cosmetic uses, which really doesn't seem to fit. So there's, I guess, the jurisdiction that the municipality has to govern what it's using on its lands, but there's the other part, which is the support and allyship of the Indigenous people's call for a ban on aerial spraying. Blanket, so maybe it could be broken into two motions. But what I was hoping for as a member of the Indigenous Advisory Circle was a demonstration of allyship with the call for a ban on aerial spraying.
Aerial spraying in particular, sort of as distinct from other uses that municipalities or...
And maybe agricultural issues. So
Right.
it might have to be parsed out into three different motions at some point, one part dealing with agriculture, one part dealing with municipal lands, and the other part dealing with crown lands in general. But my hope was only to have a statement from the municipality to stand in support of the call for a ban that the chiefs have made.
Understood.
Okay.
And that aerial spraying would take place largely by farms or croppers, or where would we find the aerial spraying?
Well, it's happening in forest management units.
It's largely a forest management practice we're
Yep.
speaking of. I see. And so these would be crown lands?
Yes.
They're
crown lands.
They're crown lands. Understood. That's so helpful to me. I appreciate that. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you.
Okay. So colleagues, any other questions? Thank you. So Deputy Mayor?
Not a question so much, but I just recall back in the early 80s, I was hired to edit a promotional film for DuPont, or it could have been Monsanto, but it was regarding Roundup, and they were trying to promote the use of their genetically modified canola seed to farmers in Saskatchewan. And it's a bit of an insidious business model in which you create a product that kills everything, and then you genetically modify a crop that you hold the patent to and sell that resistant crop to farmers. So it's interesting. It has gone on longer than 25 years, Lorraine, the use of the product certainly, and probably just as long the protest against the use. So, but thank you.
So, Ms. Janot, I know that Ms. Rickmans was suggesting a modification to the whereas clause in the motion. Could you just remind us of what that is again?
Through your worship, I will put it up on the screen. So most of this is the original motion, and then the second to last whereas clause mentions the treaty and Canadian Constitution. So this has been added to what is in your agenda package. And then point 1 was amended to add support the Chief of Ontario on calling the ban of aerial spraying.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. And I'm learning some new things through this presentation because I did not understand that the use of glyphosate was as widespread in forest management practices. So that's a helpful distinction for me. So colleagues, have we gotten it right in terms of the whereas clause? Okay. So then I will look for a mover and a seconder. We've asked that we consider the motion following the delegation. So that was the amendment to the agenda. So are there any other questions, colleagues? Okay. Yes, we do have 2 questions. Or a mover and a seconder? Okay, so Councillor Wilson, please.
Thank you, Mayor Peckford. Just as maybe additionally, we're specifically saying glyphosate. Should we also say other alternative chemicals that could be used for the same purpose? Banning all? Or are we being specific? We're being specific. Because there are new things that they're coming out with to use for the same thing.
I would just say glyphosate at the moment.
Okay. All right, thanks.
And I understand there is a reference here to the fact that Quebec has demonstrated a precedence, right, as has been noted, and they have used a manual forest thinning, I guess, approach as a safer alternative. I presume that given the amount of Crown land in both Quebec and Ontario, that somehow it's been achievable in some part. So it's nice to see that there's another province that is sort of paving the way, if you will. Okay, so I will go to, is there another question over here? No? Did you have a question, Councillor Strachan? All right, so then I'll look for a mover. Thank you. Councillor Strachan, Councillor Wilson, thank you. Any last comments or questions? Yes, go ahead.
There is weed killer that doesn't contain glyphosate. So there are alternatives to Councillor Wilson's question.
Great. So then I will call the vote. All in favor? Great. Thank you. That passes. Thank you for coming. And please keep us posted on the evolution of this discussion with other municipalities and the Government of Ontario. So thank you. Thanks for your efforts. Okay, so with that, we'll move on to our next delegation, and we're pleased to welcome Adrian Schutt, who is Real Estate Development and Construction Director with CADCO. Welcome, Adrian. Thank you so much for being here. It's nice to see you in person. I know you're based in Ottawa, but you're here in Kemptville lots, so thanks for coming this evening.
I am, and I'm happy to be back. Thank you.
So over to you, or is it Ms. Martin?
I think I'm going to pass the buck immediately to Ms. Martin for an introduction and context setting piece, and then we'll go to me.
Perfect. Thank you, Your Worship. So staff and CADCO are here tonight to discuss the award of a contract for construction manager for the Bell Hall renovation project, which would see the conversion of Bell Hall into 60 affordable housing units. The municipality has been working with CADCO for well over a year to get the project to this stage. We did go to tender earlier this fall to look for a construction manager who would oversee all the elements of the renovation project. We received a total of 8 very competitive submissions and 6 qualified on the technical side to have their financials considered. Based on the overall scoring, McDonald's Brothers scored in the first position with the blended technical and financial scoring. Scoring was based on technical expertise, project experience, a proposed Class D budget, and weekly project management fees, to name a few. Given the highly competitive nature of these the proposals, staff and CADCO held 4 interviews with the top 4 firms. While there was no scoring attributed to the interviews itself, it did help the evaluation team in the decision-making process. It did help us affirm that with the top position on the scoring, with the blended financial and technical scoring and the interview process, that McDonald Brothers is the company that we would like to put forth for council's consideration. So often is the case, our request for proposals do have a piece in there that says that we might not necessarily accept the highest or the lowest bid, and we have a very detailed technical process in which we undertake to evaluate each of the applications. And it was the interview process that really solidified kind of that early relationship with the project team and made it, just that a little more comfort and ease in being able to recommend McDonald Brothers to council for consideration for the construction management proposal. So I'll turn it over to Adrian, who can speak a little more to the technical side of things. And if there are any questions, we are happy to field them at the end. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Martin. Yeah, so this process, this request for proposal process, I just want to clarify, it's not truly a request for tender. This is a construction management arrangement that's been proposed for Bell Hall, which is a CCDC 5B contract, and this contract type is one that is very commonly used in affordable housing. It's actually used by a lot of municipalities and certainly the federal government. So in Ottawa, it's a common contract, but it's not a contract where we have a specific price. We haven't, it's not a hard bid sort of number where we'll say, I will give you, if you give me $10, I will give you 3 apples. We don't have that level of granularity at this point. And so the purpose of a request for proposal for a construction manager is to bring on a partner into the project to help to value engineer, to help to drive it forward to that point of a final budget and completion. So there are a number of off-ramps that are integrated into these contracts, and that is always the case with these standardized contracts. So where we are right now is having gone through this, as Ms. Martin mentioned, we now have a partner that we'd like to propose who could be used on this project from now until the end and right up until the warranty period. So they would join our team to deliver this project as it's been designed. During the process that was undertaken for the request for proposal, we evaluated a lot of different components of each team's team, frankly. We really look at their project management expertise. We look at their site supervision experience, their corporate experience, and numerous other areas that are of priority both for the municipality, but also from our experience in working with construction managers. And so I'm confident in saying that this was financially the most competitive request for proposal that we have run in the last many years. And frankly, that this is a very good time, I'm comfortable saying, to be undertaking a project of this nature. The market for construction, especially multi-residential construction, is slowing across the country. And as such, the rates that were provided for this across the board are much lower than we've ever seen, frankly. And so in CADCO's history of 28 years, I don't think we were able to actually find a tender or a request for proposal, I should say, where we had 6 compliant bidders with their fees proposed as low as it was here. So groups are hungry for work. They do need the work. And we saw some very competent firms, as a result, reach out to look at this and put forward strong applications. So overall, I would say folks want to work with North Grenville. So that was a nice thing. You never know when you put one of these out if no one's going to show up to it, but there was a strong showing, and the prices spoke for that as well, that these qualified firms are interested in doing this. So we're happy to have been a part of running this and see a strong result, strong showing.
Great, thank you so much, Adrian. Questions for Adrian at this stage? Yes, go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Thanks, Adrian, and thanks, Amy, for the presentation. I understand it's a Class D estimate. The contract type is common, and you had a scoring matrix that included things like site supervision and similar projects. What were some of the other scoring items or items that you scored?
For sure. So on the technical, one of the pieces that we focus on, I think Ms. Martin mentioned as well, is is around the project team that's proposed and how they plan to tackle the project. So that includes their allocation of project management resources, supervision resources, and other components like that. But we also look at their schedule. We do look at their budget that we request, the Class D budget. We don't score on the budget specifically. Like if somebody puts in a budget and says, I can do it for $10, and we know it's a multi-million-dollar project, they don't get more points. They'll receive less, for instance, on something like that, because we're looking for the legitimacy of their work that they've put into this and how accurate they are in line with our budget and what our assessment is. Because we actually do have a higher class of budget that's been done with the work that's been done to apply for funding and financing for this project. And so we have a much better sense of where we anticipate the cost will be. And so on that one, for example, on the Class D budget, we're confident that the firms has their proposed budget at a Class D level, which is not as should not be as accurate, is within the range of where we expected, but it is on the low end. And so we are anticipating that the project will be able to come in as a result of that in a reasonable price. But that isn't the way we mark that is actually about their thoroughness of budgeting and what they've understood from the plans. One of the other key areas that we score on as well is project understanding and making sure that they understand the objectives of the municipality, in this case is the client, whoever that client might be of Catco's, to make sure that they are understanding of your objectives in a project and what the intended outcome of the building is to be. And so we're really trying to get a sense in something like this that they are capable of doing the work, that they have the resources to, with their estimating methodology as well and their quality control methodology, to ensure that they can actually deliver to the level that we expect them to.
Thank you. Councillor Sullivan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, through you to Adrian. I have two questions. The scoring here that's in this, there's technical scoring and then there's combined scoring with financials. So they go from 1 to 5. I'm not sure what is the best score, low or high?
A very good question. I should clarify that. Yeah, so 1 is the one you're going for in this case. That is place, that is position. So highest scoring firm would be number 1. That's a very good question. And yes.
Okay, thank you. So that makes sense now. And the other question I have is, do you look for references or do you check out any previous work that they have done to make sure that the previous clients were very satisfied and didn't run into any hiccups?
Absolutely. And so in this case, this is actually a firm. And so regardless of this, when we get to this point, what we like to do, and I mean, we all have different philosophies on checking references for a job, but it's much like a job interview. We set up on a panel, not unlike this, to be honest, as we question them throughout the process. And so in this case, we tend to only check the references of the proponent that would be recommended, just to save everybody some time, but also to ensure that we're not, not wasting their references time and again. So in checking references here, it's quite straightforward. This is actually a firm that we have worked with previously. So they were the highest scoring firm, but they have delivered a number of projects. And so we have a number of references, but we actually request letters of reference as well within the RFP process. So we can check them further, but some of those references are projects that we have that are active with them at the moment for other nonprofits.
Great, thank you. I appreciate the explanation. Great.
Other questions, colleagues? So just a quick inquiry from me. What is the imperative for this company to ensure this project remains on budget? We know that sometimes municipal or other levels of government are seen to be incredibly reliable contractor of services because there may be a misunderstanding of the latitude we might have if a project, for example, was over budget. So I'd like a better read from you on their capacity to be incredibly vigilant and disciplined in terms of managing the costs. As you know, we are finalizing an arrangement with a funder for the majority of this project, but we also, as a municipality, as stated in the report, are committing to $5 million. And it would be helpful for me to understand if part of this contract is about sort of cost management and cost containment.
Absolutely. And that's a great question, because that is I think to me, the sense of this. And one of the questions that we ask these proponents is, what is their interpretation of their role as the construction manager? And we see them as on our team and on effectively your team. And so the role of construction manager puts them in a position where it's an open book costing process. So my team, as well as our architects, but a focus will certainly be on myself and our team, reviews every tender that they do. So if they were to tender the drywall contractor, for instance, we will be scrutinizing it, and it actually is an open book process. So we will see the bids from every drywaller that they do, we have access to, and as a client, the municipality would have access to that as well. And so we get to see through that process where that's going. If we don't feel the tenders are accurate or they're not portraying it in a way we expect, for instance, numbers for that to be $1 million and it ends up that their best bid is $2 million, we can ask them to redo that. So the contract allows us to have our own scrutiny on it. But the response of McDonald Brothers and several other firms that I would say, responded in a similar manner is that their role is to ensure that the client gets the value. That is their job, is that they are not, it's a different relationship than when you have a general contractor who you hire where you say, build me a building for this many dollars, and then they go and do it, and they if they can get it done for cheaper, or if it goes up, it's definitely to their benefit, right? In here, because the accounting remains open book throughout the entire process, unless the municipality should choose to close the books on that and turn it and convert it to a fixed price contract, which is an option that is available at any point after we get to a full budget. There's visibility. And so the onus is on them to ensure that they are being transparent, because they are required to be, and there are off-ramps for the client in these contracts if it doesn't feel like it is going in that way. And so I would say that, of course, yes, if a project grows by dramatic proportions, there is more money for them if they were to do that. But I think that there are like adequate controls, I would say, in place, and adequate visibility between the project management team and the architectural consultants that are on this file to ensure that that doesn't happen.
And the particular manager that you're recommending this evening, I know you mentioned reference checks. Can you give us an example of a more recent project that they would have overseen?
Absolutely. So the most similar project, and I would say that was one of the other considerations here, this specific construction manager had the most similar project that we found. That was another thing that we looked at for scoring, was similar projects. And the Cornerstone Housing for Women, some of you may know in Ottawa, did a conversion of I believe it's a 43 unit, if I'm not mistaken. Should know that. Project, which was an office building. I believe that actually one time was a school to an office building, and then into long-term supportive housing. And so McDonald Brothers was the construction manager for that one, and CADCO was involved in that as well. And same with the architects that were on this file. So exactly the same team, as it happens, which has delivered a very similar project previously. So that is one. Another one is the Ottawa Salis project on Capilano. Again, supportive housing, long-term supportive housing. That's a new build. And if you were to look further back, Centertown Citizens Ottawa Corporation, which closed 2 years ago, is another reference for a 50-ish unit, we'll call it, family residence. So a combination of studio to 3-bedroom.
So definitely seasoned in the multi-residential space and in the conversion space. That's what
Conversions, multi-residential, and nonprofit housing.
And nonprofit.
So in all cases, projects that were funded by funders with the requirements that we anticipate having here around things like energy efficiency, accessibility. They also, another consideration, one of their other significant business lines, and they are a local company, is in schools. And so they build a lot of schools. And so in considering their proximity to other neighbors on campus, we anticipate be much more conscientious. They've proven to be a conscientious builder, but they have direct experience in working with schools, including when they're open and adding on to schools. And so we think that will also be an asset when it comes to integrating into the campus and being a part of the community, as this will be a longer build-out process.
That is excellent insight. I appreciate that. Thank you. Council colleagues, is there anything else in regards to this one? I know that certainly at this stage, we are still incrementally moving towards the renovation, recognizing that we have yet to, I don't want to say finalize, I know that's the word in the report, but obviously there is an engaged funder, and an agreement is being pursued, and we're obviously extremely optimistic that that is well on its way, or we wouldn't be awarding this contract. But I know there are prohibitions on us saying much more at this stage, but obviously very exciting to be in this moment where we're not talking about demolition of a building that loomed large, certainly in this community, for 4 decades, if not longer, but we're looking at a repurposing. So thank you to yourself and, of course, Amy and the team for all of their hard work. I know it's really just beginning and there's still a ways to go here, but appreciate that this is a good news story. So I'll look for a mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Sullivan, need a seconder. Councillor Strachian, thank you. And that is for the following resolution, that council award the construction management contract for the renovation of Bell Hall to McDonald Brothers Construction, and that the chief administrative officer be authorized to sign the agreement on behalf of the municipality. And I think I heard you right, Mr. Shute, in saying that if for any reason the municipality felt this arrangement wasn't working, there are off-ramps.
Yeah, that is correct. Yeah, there are some built into it, and it's a standardized construction contract, so we have flexibility.
Okay, great. So then I will call the question. All in favor? Great. That carries on. So with that, thank you again for being here this evening. So next, colleagues, we're looking at the consent agenda. You will see the items as presented here this evening. I did advise Ms. Dunlop prior to the meeting today, in fact, several hours ago, that we would be, or I would ask that the annual, semi-annual wastewater report and the municipal alcohol policy be removed from the consent agenda. And I would invite any other members of council to propose any other amendments. I'm not seeing any, so then I will look for, oh, I apologize. Councillor Sullivan, sorry. Oh, just your mic.
If I may, I would just like to remove the waste reduction for information sharing purposes, for emphasis on that.
For sure.
Thank
Okay.
you.
So then I will look for a mover and a seconder for the adoption of the amended consent agenda, recognizing that, of course, it is at council's discretion to determine items on the consent agenda. So Councillor Sullivan, Deputy Mayor will move, and Councillor Sullivan will second. Thank you. And I'll call the question. All in favor? Thank you. That carries. So with that, we'll look to Mr. Finley to shed some light on Waste Reduction Week. Thank you, Mr. Finley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So what we are looking for, Council, is to proclaim the week of October 20th to 26th as Waste Reduction Week within the municipality of North Grenville. The idea here is to promote waste reduction and inform residents of different benefits of sustainable practices and green approaches to waste reduction. The 2025 theme is a stronger community for all. And there is, each day of the week, there will be different information pieces that will pass out. What they look for, or what the keys that they will focus on, is Construction Monday. So that looks at information on ways how the construction industry can look to reduce some of their waste. Some of the information that they did note is that in Canada alone, over 4 million tons of construction is wasted each year, with only a 16% diverted from landfills. So that's what Monday would look like. Tuesday is Textile Tuesday. Be information provided on how to reuse textiles. They did note as well, Canadians throw out nearly 500 million kilograms, or about 500 million pounds, of clothing and fabric containing home goods every year. So they'll give out tips and tricks there. Wednesday is Electronic Wednesday. We're looking at how to reuse some of our e-waste. It was noted in a 2024 report, Canada generated an estimated 770 million kilograms of electronic waste in 2022. So there'll be tips and tricks there. On Thursday, we would look at information on Plastic Thursday and how to reduce all their plastic waste. Food Friday would be the next one, and how to reduce that waste of food. What they did note there from a 2024 report across Canada, nearly 46% of all food produced is wasted. So they would look to reduce those as well. And then finally, over the weekend, it's Repair Weekend. And this is just an idea of tips and tricks on how to repair rather than throw things out in waste, which falls right into what we'd promote that weekend is our curbside giveaway weekend. So we do note on October 25th and 26th, if there are reusable or unused items that residents want, they could put out a list for free and have it available for other residents to come pick up. It is noted that this is a resident-driven event, and if there are items that are left out, we would look for those residents to, again, put them away after the weekend is over and the event is over. So that's some information behind the proclamation, and I am happy to answer any questions for council.
Thank you. Councillor Sullivan?
Thank you very much, Director Finley. I'm just wondering, do you know if the Repair Cafe will be on that during that same week, the one that the Environmental Action Advisory Committee sort of spearheaded? I think they usually hold it at the library.
Thank you for the question through you, Madam Mayor. I haven't received confirmation, but we can check with the library and make sure if it is available, we'll put that public communication out as well.
Okay, great, thank you. And is there any plan to expand the use of green bins, like sort of including at the municipality, at the building here, as well as other like churches, curling clubs, et cetera, where they could probably generate more green bin use rather than have it go into the landfill?
Thank you for the question through you, Madam Mayor. We do offer the green bin as an alternative. It is usually the users that look to promote it. It can be difficult for more commercialized areas because as soon as there's some contaminants in, it isn't sorted, so it does become waste. So there is some challenges. But certainly if there is an uptake from one of the community groups, we're happy to work with them. There just becomes that risk of the monitoring of what goes in that green bin.
True, okay. All right, thanks very much.
I mean, to that end, I think, Councillor Sullivan, I know in the past you've alerted me to the fact that I think even within our own building, are we composting at large community gatherings? And could, Mr. Finley, perhaps you explain the limitation there, or if there's a way to work around that? I think of the Sweetheart Brunch and some of these other major gatherings where certainly there's a lot of organic waste, and I'm just curious to know if there's, obviously, you know, in this community, there appears to be a pretty strong commitment to using those compost bins. So I'm wondering if moving into the future, understanding it can be complicated for private multi-residential buildings, though I'm sure it's achievable at some point, but have we given any thought to how to better leverage our own program for large events hosted in the municipal building in particular?
Thank you for the question, Madam Mayor. Again, we have the program available. We'd have to work with our recreation department to see what their options or comfort levels are. And again, it's that idea of trying to manage what gets into those green bins during those larger events. Sometimes can be a challenge. So we can work with them to see what options they would like to work with and go from there.
Well, how handy that our Director of Parks and Rec is here this evening. So maybe there's a way to promote that collaboration, understanding the quality control may not be there, but that may be true of any particular household as well. So I don't know, Ms. Torch, if there's anything you want to say at this stage? Unprompted and unscripted? Yeah, I think you're good.
Sorry. Sorry, Madam Mayor. So that's something that we can work through with Public Works. The issue is I think mostly ensuring that the groups that are using the green bin are mandating and putting in the proper materials, because unfortunately staff can't sort through. It's unsafe for them to do so.
My understanding from the City of Ottawa is that sometimes there was that contamination just from a private household, and the systems in place sort of allow for the separation of organic and non-organic. Of course, I think absolutely no staff person would want to sort through an organic waste bin, and that would be true of, I think, most people in the community. But maybe there are some protocols for some smaller events that can be tested to see if we can get a level of compliance that would be helpful.
Sorry, I just wanted to add something. That's something that we could try with the trial program through Public Works, if that's something that we can foresee in the future. But I think it's a great idea.
For sure. Councillor Strachan?
Yes, through you, Madam Mayor. I was just going to say exactly what you said. Nobody is regulating what households are putting in their green bins, and it's based on the honor system of, here, we provide you the information, do as best as you can. So I think that there are many local groups that would benefit from this. The farmer's market is a good example. That would be great to have a compost bin there. I think it would align with many good things that the farmer's market is trying to do, and we can't have a compost bin unless one of us wants to take it back and forth from the farmer's market. So I think trying to figure out a way to trial this would be beneficial for the municipality events at the municipal building and beyond. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Anything else in regards to Waste Reduction Week? It sounds like there's a fairly robust program. Mr. Finley, I assume it's province-wide, the days that you delineated, or is it specific to North Grenville?
Thank you for the question, Madam Mayor. No, this is actually province-wide and actually goes, they try and push it to Canada-wide, but we definitely look to bring those days on for the municipality.
Okay, great. Thank you. So I'll look for a mover and a seconder. Councillor Sullivan, seconder, please. Councillor Strachan. Thank you. And the motion is that council proclaims the week of October 20th as Waste Reduction Week in the municipality of North Grenville. And I will call the vote. All in favor? Great. That passes. Thank you so much. Next, we're moving to the semi-annual water and wastewater report. So, Mr. Finley, you are on deck.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So this second report we have for council to receive tonight is the first 2 quarters of 2025 for the water and wastewater performance report. So what this report is intended to do is provide council with an update on the maintenance and activities of the water and wastewater division, as well as it does meet some key criteria from our drinking water quality management system to ensure that council, as the owners of the systems, are informed of what's taken place. I can give you some of the highlights that were provided in the report. The first from the Kemptville drinking water system. We did have all our water samples collected per the Safe Drinking Water Act. We did in the first half of the year have 6 water main breaks. We did have 0 adverse water quality incidents, so that was good. And again, we did test in conformance with our drinking water license. In terms of the wastewater system and wastewater treatment plant, there were 12 tertiary bypasses during the reporting period, so that is at the current water pollution control plant. There were no overflows or spill events during this period, so that's at our pump stations or within our system. We did have 1 methane spill during the reporting period, and we did exceed 6 effluent parameters, monthly parameters in the reporting period. Of course, another item that we do have that we can give council some updates on is we are still well into construction of the expansion at the Kemptville Water Pollution Control Plant. So during some of this time, the new primary tanks were nearing their concrete construction completion. The digester building and dewatering facility, a lot of the concrete works were being finished there as well as we're starting to get into some retrofits at our existing operations. So we're starting to see that all kind of come together as part of the expansion. So those are some of the highlights, but I'm happy to answer any questions from council.
Thank you. Council colleagues, anything? I think one of the reasons I wanted to pull this report is there's been lots of questions and concern in the community about water supply as well as water quality, as you well know, and with the drought conditions we've experienced, I think knowledge of aquifers in particular is increasing, and as it should. We know we have shallow aquifers that obviously are the source for a lot of private wells in our community, and then we have the deeper aquifer that feeds our municipal water system. And I wanted to ask Mr. Finley if you, obviously the system assessment and monitoring that is done on an ongoing basis, if you were able to shed light into the quantity of water in the deeper aquifer and any understanding you may have of the state of the more shallow aquifer. I understand that we don't actively monitor the quality of water coming from that aquifer, but if you just had some general comments on the state of North Grenville's water supply.
Thank you for the question, Madam Mayor. In terms of the Oxford aquifer, which is your higher aquifer that most private residential systems are drawing from, we don't monitor that. because it's not part of our licensing system, and private wells are the responsibility of the private homeowners. So I can't provide a lot of information on that aquifer. What I can say regarding our Nepean is that we do monitor, as you mentioned, on a regular basis. We've seen some minor fluctuations in terms of static level of that aquifer and what our drawdown are. So that gives us indications of what our recharge of our water is when we're drawing water from that aquifer. Again, there's been some minor fluctuations, nothing that has us raise any concerns or any flags in terms of the volume of the drinking water that we provide with our system. Every time we put on a new well, we do, at least through the theoretical studies, of the volumes of that aquifer. I don't have that number right on hand, but I can say, excuse me, when we did look at the Northwest Quad well and looked at we did an impact assessment on the aquifer, and what it did identify that through the 25-year projection, there was a very low stress levels on the aquifer. What it did note is there was less than, the municipal system was providing a less than 10% draw on the aquifer. Now, mind you, it's more vast than our municipality, and there are others that do a draw from it, but from our review on that assessment, there was more than sufficient capacity at the current time. And again, we don't see any indications of stress on the system right now.
And I think our hope would be that drought conditions that we experienced this summer don't repeat themselves. Of course, the aquifer being so deep may not be affected in the short term by drought conditions, but hard to say about the long term. So thank you for shedding some additional light on that. And I know people obviously care deeply about their water source and their water quality for all the right reasons. So I think it's important when we have these opportunities to review these reports as per the legal obligations of council, that we take the opportunity to ask some of the questions that are probably top of mind for many residents. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you to Director Finley. Thank you for that report on Q1 and Q2, Mr. Finley. Compared to previous quarters, like in 2024, would I be right in saying that we have more tertiary bypasses and effluent parameter exceedances in Q1 and Q2 than previous years?
Thank you for the question. Through you, Madam Mayor, to Deputy Mayor Berkeley. A lot of the times, it really depends on the season that we're having. So what we do find during our wetter years, we do have more of those bypass events currently. Back in 2019, we actually did have far more exceedances than we do now. Part of the expansion and part of phase 2 of the expansion is that we'll have some equalization tanks to help address these wet weather events, which will, the intent is that will reduce significantly those bypass events. So yes, it just depends on the year. We've had very little bypasses since it's been dry the second half of the year. We just haven't reported on that piece yet. But yeah, the wet weather events do play a large factor in it.
Just to follow up, so with the expansion of the water pollution control plant, we should be seeing less of those bypasses. Is that what you're saying?
That is correct.
Okay, anything else, council colleagues? I'm not seeing anything. So then I'll look for a mover and a seconder for the following: that council receives the 2025 semi-annual water wastewater performance report Q1 and Q2 for information purposes and to fulfill commitments in the drinking water quality management standard operational plan for the Kemptville drinking water system. Thank you, Councillor Wilson, appreciate that. And a seconder, Deputy Mayor, thank you. And if there are no further questions, I will call the vote. All in favor? Great. Thank you. So next, we are moving on to our alcohol policy. And Ms. Torch is on deck in regards to the revised alcohol policy. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This report brings forward the revised municipal alcohol policy for council's approval. The current policy has not been updated since 2013, and over the past year, through the help of retired PRC Director Guy and then myself, we've been working closely with the Southeast Health Unit, previously known as Leeds Grenville Atlantic District Health Unit, who included North Grenville in the municipal alcohol policy pilot project. Their recommendations, combined with our internal review, has resulted in more of a modern, practical, and safety-focused document. The updated policy aligns with provincial regulations under the Alcohol and Gaming Commission of Ontario and reflects emerging best practices in event management and harm reduction. Some of the key updates within the policy include expanding restricted areas of alcohol use, including athletic fields, trails, beaches, and youth events, strengthening responsibility of service protocols, such as smart serve requirements, ID checks at both ticket and drink stations, limits on tickets and drink purchases, and clear prohibitions around cannabis use, mandating the availability of non-alcoholic options, unbreakable cups, and the removal of last call announcements to promote responsible consumption, and also introducing clear expectations for event organizers, particularly around permits, insurance, and communication with staff. There are no direct financial implications associated with adopting this revised policy. However, it will help mitigate potential liability and enforcement risks by ensuring that all municipal and community events operate under a clear, up-to-date standards. Overall, this update strengthens our partnership with the health unit, supports community safety, and provides clearer direction for both staff and event organizers. I'm open to any questions, should you have any.
Councillor Sullivan?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you to Director Torch. Oh, I just lost my page here. Okay, thank you. Thanks for doing the revisions on this and the review of it. I just have a question about the alcohol content. It says alcohol beverages served must not exceed 5% alcohol content, and yet typically wine is between 11 and 13%. Liqueurs are between 10 and 55%, and liquors are between 40 and 50%. So I'm just not sure, does this mean that you are only going to be selling beer that is 5% or less?
So through you, Madam Mayor, through the advice of Leeds and, the health unit, this is more so focused around not allowing single shots of liquor. So you can have wine and pieces like that, but it's just to ensure that we're not selling shots. That's what the 5% was indicating.
Okay, because there is a clause there that does say that you can't do shots. You're not selling shots of straight liquor. So if someone wanted to have a drink of scotch on the rocks with no ice, it's kind of considered a shot if they're just getting a shot of straight scotch on rocks, with or without the ice. And it's typically going to be somewhere between 40 and 55% alcohol per volume. So it's in my opinion, I found it confusing when you said that you must not exceed 5% alcohol, which would even exclude some beer.
Thank you for the question through you, Madam Mayor. So again, through the health unit, it's the recommendation that we are not selling pure liquor, like had you mentioned, like scotch. It's the idea that they would mix it with a drink so that it's not a full, a percentage over 5% to reduce people from drinking and driving. So it's their recommendation that we're not allowing that type of alcohol sale within the facility to ensure that people are respecting alcohol in a manner that ensures that they're being safe.
Yeah, I completely understand that and accept that and think it's very good. I just think that this doesn't make sense if you're saying the beverages that are served must not exceed 5% alcohol. So there's a lot of beverages that would not be allowed according to this policy. So I would say that this means you can't sell wine, you can't sell liquor, and you can't sell liqueurs, and you can't sell beer that is more than 5% alcohol.
And just to be clear, I know the health unit makes recommendations. Of course, municipalities we're not beholden to the health unit recommendations. I'm just wondering if someone can clarify the interpretation of, so I don't drink enough to actually understand what the 5% threshold allows or disallows. And I know that I guess most wines exceed a 5% threshold. Is that, so practically speaking, how would you see the implementation of this particular policy? The health unit is a recommending body. We're not subject to adhere exactly to their recommendations. We understand, of course, the intention, but for events that have made it their practice and people are committed to drinking responsibly, how will this play out?
Thank you for the question, Madam Mayor. So the way it would play out, it's ensuring for the shot purposes, it's ensuring that we're not allowing shots at a bar and in a recreational facility. So the 5% minimum is what they're requesting, is just making sure that we're not selling over percentage beers, because you can get beers in that 7, 8, 9% range. Because you can have them in different variations of sizes. So it's just stopping that high intake alcohol content. It's not stopping anyone from having a glass of wine. It's not stopping anyone like that. It's stopping the high consumption of alcohol through shots of scotch on the rocks, etc.
But that doesn't mean, sorry.
That's okay. Follow up, Councillor Sullivan, then I'll recognize Councillor Strachan and Deputy Mayor. Go ahead.
Okay, so if someone wanted to have an after dinner drink of 1 shot of scotch on the rocks or straight up, 1 shot, 1 ounce, because it says in, oh shoot, I just lost it. Can we put up the policy? Yeah.
Ms. Janot, can you just...
Thank you. That would mean, and that's maybe the only drink they were going to have for the whole night. That would be 1 drink. So this policy says that you could not sell anybody a shot of, even a shot of Bailey's after dinner. I think that first statement says that you can't serve any beverages that are over 5% alcohol content.
So I'm going to ask Ms. Dunlop before I go to Councillor Strachan to shed some light on her understanding. Ms. Dunlop.
Thank you very much. So the intent of this policy is to bring up our municipal alcohol policy to current standards, and these are templates that are provided by the health unit. The intent is to make sure that we have smart serve, to make sure that we have people that have their, they aren't taking shots, straight alcohol. We can modify that specific clause should that be a requirement. We could take out that specific clause should that be the requirement, or we could get further clarification from the health unit. But the intent is to not permit shots. The idea would be for a standard alcohol consumption, responsible alcohol consumption. So, of course, we can either take it back, remove the clause, or continue with that specific understanding.
And this will only apply to the municipal center and
municipal facilities? Is that the idea?
So, because I'll tell you, the curling club
Right.
sells wine and they sell liquor, and there are people who will just have a shot of scotch, 1 drink on the rocks after a game.
Ms. Torch, go ahead, and then I'm going to Councillor Strachan.
So thank you for the question through you, Mayor, Madam Mayor. So if it's through our alcohol policy, or sorry, if it's on our liquor license, they'd have to amend their policy as well. It would, if it's through our liquor license, if you're referring to the curling club.
I think they have their own.
Okay, so then it doesn't apply, so.
Okay, so that's a useful clarification. Councillor Strachan, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. To the CEO and to Director Torch, everybody agrees we want safe drinking policies. We're not debating that. I don't think anybody has any issue with that. But the wording of the first line and the wording of the fourth bullet on here, if it's about the shots in a mixed drink, the fourth line takes care of that. The 5% doesn't work for all the examples that Councillor O'Sullivan just mentioned. And I've been to many events here, mixed drinks of a gin and tonic or something like that. The first line here would not be allowed because those would exceed the 5% in a standard drink. So I think that if we are allowing more than just beer, then we would have to amend that first line. And that would be my recommendation, to remove the 5%. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor?
Through you, Madam Mayor, I guess to Councillor Strachan, she made a suggested amendment. I think it could be easily say, we could keep that 8th point if we just said discourage the service of caffeinated drinks over 5%.
It's not caffeinated.
Well, alcohol exceeding 5%. Rather than prohibiting it, just discourage the use of it. That's
Right. Councillor Strachan, I'll go back to you.
Discouraging doesn't do anything. It might as well not be in there. You shouldn't do that, but we're going to, right? I think if we feel that it should be in there, then keep it in there. If we don't think it should be in there, make it a clear distinction so that there's no guessing work for any of the event holders. So, sorry, through Madam Mayor, I just think that if we put statements in here, I think we make them as black and white as possible. It'll make it easier for everyone to understand.
Well, I think about the Kemptville 73s, right? Recent efforts to actually, of course, they in more recent years have served alcohol as part of their game experience. I know the Kemptville Brewing Company is the most recent partner to the 73s, and I have no doubt they have a couple of beers that are likely exceeding the 5% threshold. So I too have concerns about the implications. So I do believe it would be prudent to remove the reference to 5%. Okay. I understand that significant guidance was provided by the health unit, and we understand the spirit in which they are obviously supporting the evolution of these bylaws for municipalities. But I think for now, it seems like council would be more comfortable just excluding that 5% threshold. I also, while we're having a conversation about alcohol policies as it pertains to the use of municipal facilities, I've recently been fielding inquiries about using actually this very room as an entertainment space on a more regular basis. My father and I had the opportunity to go to the Pews in Merrickville, and of course the Pews is an old church that has now been converted into a gorgeous concert space. I saw, a local performance. I saw, we were treated to a spectacular performance by a soloist who was formerly with the band Great Big Sea. He expressed strong interest to come to Kemptville if the right venue space was available. And Ms. Torch, we understand that you're still new in your job, but I'm curious to know if you've had any conversations about fully leveraging this wonderful theater as a potential performance space for some of these acts that travel throughout parts of Eastern Ontario and have an appetite to come to sort of a higher growth, cool community like Kemptville, North Grenville. Has that crossed your radar at all since you've started with us?
Thank you for the question, Madam Mayor. It has not. I do see a great value in expanding our service to allow those types of performances to come to the space. So I think that's something that we could look into.
Okay, and then a follow-up question is, of course, they served alcohol at the Pews, right? So I was speaking to one of the organizers who's actually on council with the Township of Merrickville-Wolford, and she did emphasize that part of their revenue stream is derived through, obviously, the sale of beverages and snacks, and there's an intermission. I'm just applying this alcohol policy, I'm applying the lens of this policy to the potential of using this space as a performance venue for which there could be the sale of beverages, including, again, responsible drinking of alcohol while out enjoying some entertainment. Does this policy prohibit the licensing of this performance facility from that sort of opportunity?
Thank you again for the question. It would not. However, it might be our liquor license preventing us to sell alcohol outside of our suites. So that's something an extension would need to be granted if that's the case.
But an amendment could be achieved, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. Just thought I'd seize the moment on that one, given my more recent conversations, so thank you. Council colleagues, yes, Councillor Sullivan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and through you again to Director Torch. I'm sorry to have asked so many questions here, but happy about clarifying that 5% issue. But the other one about individual shots, I think you could take out the straight liquor served in shot glasses. I don't think that matters, but if someone wanted to have a drink, say scotch, on the rock, I hate scotch, would never be me, but if that was their drink of choice, I can certainly see no double scotches, but if their choice is to have it straight without any mix in it, and in a glass like this, not a shot glass, I think I would take that out, as well as if it was after dinner and someone wanted to order or have a shot or a single serving of Bailey's, Irish cream, etc. That is not mixed, and I think that would be allowed, permitted.
Okay, before I go to Ms. Torch, I'll recognize Councillor Strachan. Go ahead.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I understand what Councillor Sullivan is getting at, but would tequila fall under that as well? Because I think there's a lot of shots that then we would say, no, that's going too far, but scotch is somehow seen as different. So I think if we take that out, then we also allow it to open up to any kind of shot that isn't mixed. And I think most people would see a shot of tequila slightly differently from a drink of scotch after dinner. There's definitely a perception. So I'm not sure if that, I'm not sure how we would distinguish between those two, but I think if it's not there, then you open it up for all the other options as well. Just for food for thought. Thank you.
Take away the salt and the lemon.
Okay, so I think we have a consensus in regards to the elimination of the reference to 5%. I don't really have any clarity on, I'm sorry, would you mind bringing back you just had the contents of the policy? So in regards to individual shots are not permitted at any one time. Council, do we have a strong opinion collectively on this?
That's not a shot to me. They're not shooters, if that's what you want to compare.
Straight liquor served in a shot glass. So that's how a shot is defined in the policy. So what I'm hearing is that guidance from the health unit advised against the consumption of liquor, just any liquor. So really, the effect of this policy is to only allow beer and wine to be served. So I guess question for council, are you comfortable with that protocol? Because that's what's being proposed.
No, I'm not.
And looking to other colleagues. You have to turn on your mic, sorry.
Okay, all right. Let's remove item 8.
I'm sorry, I don't know what item 8 is in the context
Prohibiting caffeinated alcohol drinks, alcohol exceeding 5%, and mixing of cannabis and alcohol.
Yeah, but that's not what we're talking about here. No, we're not. We're not. We're talking about shots that, like if you wanted scotch or bourbon without any mix.
Individual shots, straight liquor. So it is the absence of the mixing of the beverage that is the issue. Ms. Torch, can you speak again to this?
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you. So I just want to just clear one thing. So it does say that you can have liquor. It's just saying that only 1 shot per 1 ounce per mixed drink is permitted. If you choose to ask for a single shot of liquor in a cup, and if you choose not to have mix in it, you can still do that. When it comes down to individual shots, straight liquor served in a shot glass is different than asking for a drink that's in a cup. with what is it? And there's two separate points there.
Thank you. Thank you. Little did I know this would be such a colorful debate. Councillor Strachan, go ahead.
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. So Director Torch, the size of the glass matters. So I can have a shot of tequila in a bigger glass and down it just as I would in a shooter format, and that is acceptable. Then I don't understand the fifth point at all. So
Sorry, through you, Madam Mayor. So it's you have to leave, again, I'm happy to change anything within the policy to have council happy with the policy. My direction was obviously in conjunction with the health unit, and they're asking that if liquor is being served, it obviously has a mix with it. But if someone chooses, obviously I'm not there to oversee that, although there is responsible servers there. If they choose to take the cup with ice and tequila, obviously I hope that's not the case, and then they choose to only add water or they don't add anything, there's not much I can do, but it does state that they cannot serve individual shots. Whether they choose to follow that would be on them leveraging not having another opportunity to have a bar within our facility again. So if they're not following the rules and protocols within the policy, then they're apt to not be able to facilitate another rental. But again, I'm happy to change anything that you guys see fit. Again, this was solely based on conversations with the health unit. So if there's something that we can change to make this easier and more understanding for within the policy, I'm happy to change.
Councillor Wilson?
Through you, Mayor Peckford, just to make a statement, if we choose to go this way by not allowing shots or this type of thing, it's going to limit what our rentals are. We're going to lose out on things like, and I appreciate the policy, we're going to lose out on weddings, those types of events. Not saying that we're all a bunch of drinkers, but it would limit. The other thing, supplemental, can I just mention something? It doesn't, I know we're not discussing this yet, but is there any stipulation in here about bringing beer or whatever is being served by the 73s into the arena seats? Is that a separate license coverage? Because it did in the older policy say that we were not allowed to have anything in the tiered levels of the arena.
Through you, Mayor Peckford, that still stays the same, is all drinks have to be consumed within the suites. It's a different type of liability and coverage if you wish to bring an SOP, like extend our license into tiered seating. We have to make sure that there has to be security components and a few other. It's just become incredibly liable for someone if they trip downstairs. So it's a different piece, and we have to sanction cordon off because people are not 19.
Indeed. So Ms. Dunlop, maybe just make that distinction that you were highlighting for me.
Yes, Your Worship, it is my understanding that when the 73s have a special event or a certain license, they have a separate policy above and beyond what the municipality has, similar to what the curling club would have.
Right. Okay, excellent. Okay. Colleagues, I think we're close here, but I do need some direction in regards to whether or not we're going to, in the policy, contemplate the consumption of individual shots. I now understand the distinction between a shot and a drink, which is permitted, versus the serving of an individual shot, straight up, if you will. And of course, at the end of the day, it's really discretionary maybe not discretionary. At the end of the day, organizers are going to have to contend with the limitations of the policy as it's written. So I'm good to proceed with consideration of the recommendation, of course, with the exemption or with the removal of the reference to 5% alcohol content. And we'll go from there unless someone has a strong opinion. Okay. Yeah. Yes, Councillor Strachan, and then Councillor Sullivan.
So through you, Mayor Peckford, I think Director Torch, you mentioned something about receiving the shot separate from the mix and choosing not to mix them. No, I think the event organizer and those who are serving absolutely have control over that. They can mix the drink in front of them and say, this is how I have to serve it to you. So I think the clearer we are, if that's the expectation, if individual shots is being talked about right now, I think that is something that's absolutely within the control of this policy. You're not there specifically, but the event organizers do have folks with safe serve and would have to follow the policy. So I think that on its own is one way to contend with that. I'm still not sure about the individual shots, because I think if we remove that, it does change things. I have a wonderful, delicious sipping gin that I enjoy at home, but that wouldn't be allowed here because that would be a single shot with no intention of mixing it with anything else, right? But it is basically the same as, you know, having a scotch or a whiskey or something like that that would be seen differently than tequila, regardless of the size of the container, right? So I'm not sure. I mean, I guess we would have to contend with what we would like to see in the events where there's alcohol being served, rather than this kind of wording. I think there's a bit here that makes it confusing.
Councillor Sullivan?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you to Director Torch and to the rest of council, I guess. Would it help if we had individual shots bracket, shooters not permitted? Because I don't know, is there a definition of a shooter? And is a straight shot of tequila that you just chuck back, is that considered a shooter? I don't know. It is confusing, and it opens the door to ambiguity and to, you know, well, this is what I thought it meant kind of thing. So for any renter who is getting a permit and coming here for, say, a wedding or a reception or whatever, it could just have a gray area. And I think if we can try to be as clear as possible, it's probably better.
So, council colleagues, we could provide direction to staff to clarify the language in regards to the reference to shots and shooters and how they're served, if that would be helpful, and that would give Ms. Torch time to do a little more consultation, and maybe you can bring back the whole policy and with that exemption around the 5%, in addition to more specific reference to how shots are managed, if you will. So why don't we do that? I'll look for a mover and a second to direct Ms. Torch to do some additional work on the policy and bring it back to council within the month. A mover and a seconder, please. Deputy Mayor and Councillor Wilson, thank you. And that carries. So thank you, Ms. Torch. Some really great work is here, so I look forward to a final iteration of the policy. I would like to ask council colleagues if we could consider a break, and I need a motion for that. I'm not favorable to the fact that we have to motion ourselves into a break, but I will ask for your indulgence. So Barclay and Deputy Mayor, can we move to please have a break for 10 minutes? All in favor? Thanks. Okay, council colleagues, thank you. We're reconvening at 8:22 after a short break, and we'll now move on to reports. And I believe that next up, if I'm not mistaken, is the detailed design for County Road 43, Pine Hill Road pedestrian crossing. Mr. Finley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So the report we have tonight, as you mentioned, is in regards to the detailed design or concept and detailed design of the pedestrian crossing at the County Road 43 and Pine Hill Road roundabout. This was a design approved by council during our budget deliberations. When staff did go to request for proposal to have this design completed, we did receive 2 proposals that were reviewed from a technical and financial aspect and were ranked accordingly. Based on the review, staff were looking to recommend Shellex Consulting Group as the designers to move forward. What was identified, however, was the original budget of $20,000 that was approved by council was exceeded in the proposal that was provided by Shellex. Shellex did provide a budget of $41,490 excluding applicable taxes. So staff are looking to, 2 pieces that staff are looking for at this point is to increase the budget for this project to meet the amount that was proposed by the consultant, and then afterwards award the project. We did speak with our financial department, and the additional $21,490, they were comfortable with that amount being funded through reserves. They did note that that dollar value will most likely be covered through some under usages of other projects, so it may not have to come from reserves. However, there are the reserves there for this project. If approved, we are looking to at least have a budgetary cost available for the 2026 budget deliberations for construction of the pedestrian crossing. And I am happy to answer any questions that council may have.
Okay, council colleagues, thank you. I see Councillor O'Sullivan's hand and then Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you to Director Finley. Is this project, the design of this project, not eligible for development charges? Did finance not identify it, or maybe it's not eligible?
Thank you for the question. Through you, Madam Mayor, to Deputy Mayor Barclay. It wasn't identified in the DC backgrounder, but we can follow up to see if there's another look at that. But there wasn't a specific identification in there.
Ms. Lalonde, would you have a comment on that before I go to Councillor O'Sullivan?
Thank you, Your Worship. No, I would have to follow up similar to Director Finley.
So, and it's not immediately obvious that a growth-related infrastructure improvement would not be, or would be DC eligible?
Thank you for the question, Madam Mayor. Yes, typically growth-related projects as identified under the DC backgrounder are eligible for DC funds. We'd have to check to see if this PXO design and installation was identified or if it was generalistic in nature. If it's generalistic in nature or specifically identified, it would be DC eligible to a specific percentage.
Okay, thank you. That's helpful. So then I'll go to Deputy Mayor. Councillor Sullivan, rather. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and through you to Director Finley. I have a number of questions. One is, is this for the design only, not the construction?
Thank you for the question. Through you, Madam Mayor. That is correct. This is for design only. The construction would be proposed in 2026, part of those 2026 deliberations.
Okay, because it just looks like it's already designed. It looks like the depressions are already there. It just looks like now that the the access for the deep sanitary connection to the Pine Hill, Kemptville Lifestyles has pretty much been completed. It just looks like it's ready to go. You just need to put the lights and signs up. So I'm kind of surprised that it seems very expensive to just design it when it looks like it's already designed. And is it really necessary? Can it not be, crosswalks not be put in place the way it is right now?
I would imagine there are some engineering complexities nonetheless. Mr. Finley?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, or through you, Madam Mayor. There are some depressions there that were part of the original roundabout design. When the contractor currently working in the roundabout went through, other than putting some textile walking indicators, some Twizzies in, they did go back to that original design to get the one island, or the two islands that they removed, replaced, which was part of the county requirement. What this design will do, we'll look at, again, that, I guess to go back, that roundabout was designed prior to design recommendations for pedestrian crossings. So what this report will do, we'll review the current design against what are the engineering standards for pedestrian crossing. We do think there's some shortcomings there that will need to be addressed. And what it'll also do, we'll look at the future of Pine Hill Road in terms of when the potential expansion goes through, so that we can try and accommodate both the designs, so we're not ripping it out in a few years, what we put in potentially next year for the expansion of 43. So there's those two pieces that come into play: what's existing, what needs to be updated, an engineering review of what the expansion will look like, and then identify all the pieces that come with that, if there's concrete improvements, what the design of the mass will look like, as well as put up a set of tender specifications. So that is also in there as well. So there's a whole stamp design and specifications that are part of this project that they will issue, so that we can ensure we have a proper design coming through for construction.
So it would not have to be torn up and redone again in the future? Future-proof. Okay. Okay. So, okay, thank you. So then the construction of it would be on top of the $41,000?
That is correct.
Okay. So my other question is, Health, Wellness, Fitness, Active Transportation had a presentation from the Public Health Unit regarding active school transportation. And one of their comments was the need for being able to have a crosswalk from Oxford Village, or people from Oxford Village and even Tempo, to get across to and to be able to get to the high school, St. Michael, and to KPS. And they are within a kilometer of that roundabout. And they said that there was the Green Municipal Funding Grant, which would be able to be used for this crosswalk and to enable better active school transportation, and that the distance from the St. Michael and KPS would apply and make it eligible for that funding. And that deadline is October 17th. So has there been an application to the Green Municipal Fund grant for this work at this crosswalk?
Thank you for the question, through you, Madam Mayor. Staff are looking at an application, however, not for this project, just due to the timing of when the application is due, and us not, we wouldn't be at a point to identify the costs associated with putting a full application together, because we don't have the estimates from the engineer of the construction. So we are looking at a different project, which currently is the sidewalk along Clothier Street. That was identified as another design project that we do have some costings for and can meet those deadlines of the application. So we are moving forward with that project at this time.
And if I can fill in just in a preliminary discussion about this particular fund, Councillor O'Sullivan, in August, we had the opportunity to just come together quickly and definitely considered the strategic value of pursuing some capital funding under this new fund. But the criteria, as I understand it, is something that's fairly shovel-ready and costed. And with that in mind, I think internally the conversation was the identification of Clothier Street. As we know, there's been long-standing requests to continue that sidewalk that kind of stops abruptly. So our hope is that based upon the success of this year's application, we can build on it for some other projects. I know that the active transportation plan that is being developed alongside the master transportation plan, I think will give us an excellent roadmap for where we can also pursue some other funding for purposes just as you've mentioned. But thank you for having it on your radar screen. And it certainly was on ours as well. So thank you. All right. Any other questions in regards to Mr. Finley's report? Certainly, I think we understand that the value of the Pine Hill Road pedestrian crossing, particularly at the roundabout, is to facilitate safe movement for all the newer residents that are in Oxford Village, among others that don't have another good connection point from, I guess, what's the north side of 43 over to the south side and vice versa. So I continue to have a commitment from the United Counties of Leeds and Grenville that a paved shoulder will be going in this fall alongside 43 in order to, again, allow pedestrians a little more safety when it comes to traveling that route. I have already heard, as maybe some of my council colleagues have, I've heard from a number of families that are now living in the Oxford Village subdivision that have articulated their significant concern about pedestrian safety coming in and out of that subdivision. So between the paved shoulder and the bollards, which would go in the spring, and this, hopefully by this time next year, we'll have fully functional pedestrian crossings at the Pine Hill roundabout that at least goes some of the distance, not all of the distance, to allowing for more than just vehicular movement in that section of 43. So I will look to council then for a recommendation or for the consideration of the following. That council approve the increase in budget for the NG 2527 County Road 43 Pine Hill Road PXO's installation concept to detailed design from $20,000 to $41,490, excluding taxes, to be funded through reserves. And that council approve the award of contract for NG 2527 County Road 43 Pine Hill Road PXO's concept to detailed design to Shellix Consulting Group in the amount stated above. A mover and a seconder, please. Yes.
I'd like to amend that to be funded through reserves or some other source.
It does say to be funded through reserves. Are you asking that it be funded through a different source?
No, through reserves or some other source.
Or some other source.
Yeah, so that we can
recognizing that if the DC
Yeah.
pot is available, right?
Yeah, thank you.
No problem at all. Or another relevant source. Okay, no problem at all. Anything else, colleagues, before we get this motion moved and seconded? Seeing none, can I have a motion? Mover and seconder? Deputy Mayor, thank you. And a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Sullivan. All right. Any final comments or questions? Seeing none, I will call the vote. All in favor? Thank you very much. And that carries. Next, I believe we are going to we've already dealt, of course, with Bell Hall, so we're moving on to an item, I believe, from Ms. Janot in regards to Partners for Climate Protection and Milestone Framework. We have already dealt with K2, which was the award of contract for Bell Hall, so we'll move to K3. Ms. Janot.
Thank you, Your Worship. So this presentation will provide an overview of the Partners for Climate Protection, also known as the PCP. And the recommendation is for North Grenville to join the PCP to support climate action efforts. We are currently in the middle of developing North Grenville's first climate action plan. By joining the PCP, municipalities commit to implementing the milestone framework, which includes creating an emission inventory, setting emission reduction targets, developing a local plan, and implementing and monitoring that plan. North Grenville is well into step 3, but by officially joining the framework, we get access to a variety of tools and supports to help complete the work. By signing up, we agree to complete the milestone framework within a 10-year period and reporting on the process at least once every 2 years. Our plan will likely have us reporting to council annually. I do want to highlight that we will be holding a public engagement session on Monday, November 3rd, here at the municipal office from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m., where residents can drop in to learn more about the plan and to provide input on potential initiatives and reduction targets. That concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Colleagues, anything at this stage? Okay, so thank you, Ms. Jeannot, for advancing the development of a climate action plan. You can see the recommendation before you, council colleagues. It's rather lengthy. I'll just go to the be it resolved, and that is that the municipality of North Grenville review the guidelines on PCP member benefits and responsibilities and then communicate to FCM and ICLEI Canada its participation in the PCP program and its commitment to achieving the milestones set out in the framework, and be it resolved that the municipality of North Grenville appoint Ms. Hilary Jeannot and Mayor Nancy Packford to oversee implementation of PCP milestones and be points of contact. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Wilson, seconder. Deputy Mayor, thank you. Of course, we initially engaged with PCP some time ago. This is not our first engagement, but we're formalizing our participation at this stage. Is that right, Ms. Jeannot? Okay. All right. So we have the motion on the table. Any last comments? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor? Okay, that carries. Thank you very much. Moving on, we've already dealt, as we know, with the glyphosate issue. So we're getting near the end, colleagues. We do not have any correspondence featured at this meeting. I understand the clerk's office does receive quite a bit of correspondence, and I presume will be alerting us to anything that's particularly time sensitive. So we'll go to any unfinished business. I don't believe we have any this evening. Any motions or notice of motions from council colleagues? Seeing none, I'll move on then. Questions from members of the media or the community? We just have 2 members of the community here this evening. Welcome. Any questions, friends? All right. So then we'll move on to our confirmation bylaw. Be it resolved that bylaw 7625 to confirm proceedings of council at its regular meeting held on October 14th, 2025 be adopted and passed, adopted as presented rather. And I'll look for a mover and a seconder. Thank you. Councillor Sullivan, Deputy Mayor. And I'll call the question. All in favor? That carries. And then finally, adjournment, a motion to adjourn. And I'll look to Councillor Strachian and Councillor Wilson, if you don't mind, seconding our adjournment at 8:40 p.m. And I'll call the question. All in favor? Great, thank you. And our meeting is adjourned.